Welcome to another episode, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights. Thanks to our sponsors, Beckett Media, Beckett Grading Services, Beckett Authentication Services, ComC.com, Burbank Sports Cards, Mike's Stadium Sports Cards, Heritage Auctions, HA.com, Huggins & Scott Auctions, HugginsandScott.com, PaniniAmerica.net, Tops.com, that's TOPS.com. I guess you would know that if you're listening to this podcast, and Upper Deck. Rich, welcome again.
Thanks,
We're going to talk about Albert Pujols.
You know, Jim, the first thing that I thought about as you were doing the list of sponsors was this is the first person among the players we've discussed whose career is totally within the Beckett Grading Services era. Since the Beckett Grading Services really began in '98, Pujols' rookie cards are 2001. He has a couple minor league, you could say pre-rookies in 2000. Yeah. But basically, we were getting Albert Pujols cards in 2001. And that's pretty amazing that, 19 years later, 18 years later, we're still getting cards. BGS, ComC, where I'm now at. Everybody, he's still such a name. He's got the 600 career homers. He's going to the Hall of Fame.
Has he been too consistent for his own good?
I think
he's had a series of, especially in the first 10 years.
The first 10 years, he was amazing.
But just stayed strong.
Yeah,
But then people came to expect it. Did they take him for granted in St. Louis, perhaps?
I think they did. I think St. Louis, we saw, and it's a pro and a con, the 10-year contract that Artie Moreno in the Angels gave him. He understood that probably it wasn't a viable contract, especially the back end of it. On the other hand, when you're getting television money like they do in the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, which has had more name changes than somebody who's been married 8 times, is that he's going to be on TV 3, 4, 5 hours every night during the summer. And there is a big value to having an intrinsic player like that, carrying your broadcast. A
little bit multicultural, don't you think?
He's very multicultural. He's always been
in a positive way.
He's always been very community oriented. Yeah. He's always done a lot of stuff for charities. So it's always good. He's a good signer. He's always done good things for the community. So, that's a big help, having a positive role model, so to speak, in terms of your face of the franchise. And I'm sure they didn't expect when they signed him as the face of the franchise that a couple of years later, a new and younger face of the franchise would show up.
Who just has been spectacular. Yeah. Well, it's in baseball, you only get to bat once every 9 times. So having 2 guys that are, I think, Trout, I think, is already a Hall of Famer, even if something happened, and Pujols, absolutely.
And then on top of it, you got Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
And so you've got
he needs to stay healthy. He needs to stay healthy.
You've got 3 amazing hobby figures. Well, the fact that he can hit as well as he does, that even if his arm doesn't come back as a pitcher, he'll be a decent enough hitter, and he probably could play first base later. So the Angels, I think, have at least accomplished, having players you want to see in person.
Absolutely. And again, it's a global game. In many respects, the popularity in Japan is very strong. So Shohei Ohtani, that's a coup.
And then you have the Dodgers, the other team in the area that the last time I looked, 15, 16 games up already. I think they're going to win the division at this point. That's probably a pretty sound supposition. So, excuse me. Well, there's a couple of things on Albert Pujols I remember. One, his Bowman Chrome rookie signed number to 500 is by far his key card in 2001. There are a lot of other cards. I know there's a great Donruss card in 2001 that's signed and very tough. And he's got other cards in Fleer and Upper Deck that are really good too. But the Bowman Chrome 500 seemed to be the magic card for a long time.
Well, in the current lay of the land, if you were if you were a rookie coming up this year, you'd have Topps and the various Topps brands, because Topps has the baseball exclusive dual license of players and properties. So you'd have some Topps brands to pick from. But back in 2001, you had multiple Fleer, multiple Donruss, multiple Upper Deck. And so you had a lot to pick from, and Topps and Bowman and all those. So he had many rookie cards and different parallels even within that.
To make one small correction, too, if you do get an Ohtani card, the Panini brands are considered rookie cards. They are sponsored from the Players Association. They just don't have the logo. So if you really prefer Panini, you certainly have the option of having a Panini. If Pujols came up today, he'd probably have some Panini rookie cards that he probably signed. So we want to be fair to Panini too.
Okay. But still, the fully licensed in their own uniform. The rookie card definition has evolved over the years, and a big part of that definition originally was the perception of being in the major league uniform.
Right, but even as far back as 1985 with Mark McGwire,
a notable example that the people speak. So we can say what we want to say. And I remember having discussions with the Major League Baseball people back in 04, 05. Mainly 04 and 05, I think. Maybe
it would be 04 or 05 because the rules changed in 06.
Yeah. And there were some concerns about everybody working together to bring about a change that would be positive to get players in their rookie cards in their rookie seasons. Well, again, it didn't happen that often back in those days, but it did for Pujols.
They had come off 2001, not only with Albert Pujols having 2001 rookies, but Ichiro Suzuki having 2001 rookies. And I think we can say, now that Ichiro has retired, that he will make the Hall of Fame. He has 3,000 hits in America and all those.
Unbelievable.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
He doesn't play here until he's 27. And you've got 2 Hall of Famers with rookie cards the same year, neither of whom had any of the Bowman cards from Mariano Rivera, who just got inducted in the Hall of Fame, for example. He really burst onto the scene in 1996. His rookie card's 92 Bowman.
92 Bowman, yeah.
So you're dealing with a 4-year difference. With Pujols, and granted, there was only 2 years that Pujols was in the minors, and he wasn't super highly drafted, so he just might have been missed. And you couldn't get Ichiro in since he was playing in Japan, so you had a perfect storm in 2001.
Right. With a lot of pent-up demand when those guys hit the field and started producing, and both of them were very consistent.
Both of them were consistent, and they were great from the start. And so it carried 2001 for many years. And there was even a time where 2001 became Mark Pryor joined in the fun for a few years before his arm went bad. And he was considered the hotshot prospect. And, the Cubs almost got to the World Series in 2003. But he was another player carrying 2001. The 2001 year was just pretty incredible for rookie cards.
Well, I think it was. And like I said, back in the day when you were prospecting rookies, it frequently would be the year before. But for Pujols, for Ichiro, they were collecting contemporaneously with the performance that was really coming through, and it really drove the demand. And you can see his rookie cards, there's not a correlation that, there's some correlation, but not a perfect correlation that the more larger quantities of serial numbers or production perception, the lower the price. The prices are all pretty strong, but if you look at it, you'll see sometimes there are things that look like anomalies. And as we were talking about Topps and Panini, there's a perception sometimes in the pecking order of the brands at that time that this was a more popular brand or a more sought after brand, and it would drive the price up or more attractive.
As a matter of fact, Upper Deck, among the more basic products, was actually by far the most expensive and the most popular Pujols card by a lot. It was a beautiful photo, and that card was going to be a base card explosion. I think there were probably legitimate sales when Pujols was absolutely at his peak about 5 or 6 years into his career, where that card was sold over $100, and this is before it got graded. And the thing was, until he left St. Louis, you're right, he was consistent. The nickname was a machine. Yeah. I remember when the Cardinals played the Rangers in the World Series, Pujols has a game where he hits 3 homers. And you didn't realize it because he didn't hit the homer in the first inning. It's like 4, 6, and 9. And by the time you're done realizing, wait a second, that's 3 homers. And you almost expected him to get a hit every time he came to the plate. In 2005, one of the things that also made his legend was when he hit that monster shot off Brad Lidge to send it to Game 7.
It's like went out in a split second.
Yes.
I mean, he didn't have time to flip his bat.
No, nobody flipped it.
It was just like gone. And Brad Lidge, did he ever recover from that?
Yeah, he did. He did. In fact, he got to the Phillies.
He had a mystique until that time that he would overpower the guys, and all of a sudden,
4 years later, 3 years later with the Phillies, he's the closer.
Yeah.
He has a perfect save year all through the ring. So he got a World Series ring, and I think he did not close out the next night after that because Roy Oswalt pitched the game of his life. Yeah. But Pujols, you expected things like that out of him in those days. When he was with the Cardinals, you expected that greatness. And, Roy Oswalt, going really on a tangent, is 1 win shy of most wins ever by a career Astros pitcher. You know who's number 1?
Mike Scott.
No.
Nolan Ryan.
No. Joe Niekro.
Joe
Niekro, brother of Phil, has 144 wins as an Astro pitcher. Oswalt has 143. I know we're going off a little, but that's kind of wild. You might win some bar bets even in Houston that way.
Well, Pujols has a lot of rookie cards. As we said, that was back in the day when there was a lot of competition among the licensees. And I loaded up the Beckett, the online price guide. And actually, there were too many Pujols cards to load. It could only load 10,000. But I noticed that there are 18,493 Pujols cards listed. And I thought, well, that's amazing. Could anybody collect all those? Actually not, because a lot of them are one of ones. In fact, again, this is just with a little tweak of the software or just knowing where to look. Out of those 18,000 cards, 14,000 of them are serial numbered.
That's a big percentage.
That's a big percentage, but it just shows Pujols has been in the era of serial numbered cards. Serial numbered cards in the 90s, they could have high serial numbers and still be tough to get because they were difficult to find in a product that.
Well, you have 91 Donruss Elite. They made 10,000.
10,000, but go find them. However, in this century,
if you make 10,000 of a card in this century, it's probably in a quarter box.
That would
somewhere.
be a base card or worse.
Yes.
Yeah. So I got a thank you from somebody that I'd helped on something a number of years ago, maybe 15 years ago, a long time ago. And I said, here's just a little something from a friend of mine that just wanted to say thank you for helping our organization. It was like a poster of Albert Pujols, signed in gold Sharpie or something.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And it was very cool. And that was when he was still the Cardinals, obviously. And I haven't framed it, but it's rolled up and safe. But just an indication that somebody that they weren't so much in the hobby, but they knew that I cared about cards and memorabilia. And I really like collecting cards and memorabilia of players that I think are worthy of respect, which I think is very true of Albert Pujols.
And I'll leave you with this. Ask Kevin Hake, who used to be at Beckett and is now at Panini. Ask him what it was like pitching to Pujols when they were both in high school.
Well, that
I will tell you,
definitely will be.
I will tell you the ball
in another episode.
I will tell you the ball traveled quite far.
Did he get the same whiplash that Brad Lidge apparently recovered from? But I think that would be.
Yes.
So Kevin, okay, we'll bring Kevin in here one of these days. Thanks, Rich.
Thanks, Jim.
Little trip to check on Albert Pujols and his cards. We'll do some other players and do some other issues in the future and another time and perhaps even tomorrow. So again, thanks, Rich. Thanks, listeners, for your attention. BeckettInsights@gmail.com if you've got a question or a comment or a suggestion. Thanks again. Bye.